Reassurances you're safe now, big guy, just hold on. Reassurances you're safe now, big guy, just hold on. The dog whimpered as Harris worked, but his tail wagged faintly again, a fragile beacon of hope. When the chain finally snapped, Julia inspected the raw, bleeding wounds. Her chest tightened at the sight. How could anyone let it get this bad? Harris said, "Leighton, get him in the van." Julia secured the stretcher, every movement gentle yet efficient. As they lifted the dog, it turned its head weakly, licking Julia's hand. Tears pricked her eyes, but she blinked them away. This wasn't the time to fall apart. Once in the van, the dog settled onto the blanket-lined floor, its breathing shallow but steady. Julia sat beside him for a moment, stroking his head. She whispered more to herself than to him. As the van pulled away from the desolate road, Julia's resolve hardened. This was just the beginning. Whatever it took, she'd ensure this survivor would never suffer again. Beneath the tangled fur and raw wounds, every rib was painfully visible. How long had he endured without proper nourishment? As they drove quickly toward the emergency veterinary clinic, Julia glanced back at their passenger, who was watching her with eyes that, despite everything, still held a glimmer of light. From the stretcher in the back of the van, Ben's tail tapped faintly once, then again, as if to say, "That's me, that's who I've always been." Julia blinked away the tears threatening to spill as she made the call ahead to the clinic. This was only the start of a long journey, but deep down she believed this remarkable dog would pull through. Ben hadn't survived this far on strength alone. It was his unwavering hope that carried him. When they arrived, Dr. Elena Santos was already waiting at the clinic's emergency entrance, her face hardening with concern as she took in Ben's condition. 2 decades of veterinary experience hadn't dulled her compassion for cases like this. She directed with the practiced urgency of someone who had seen it all, but never stopped caring. The next hours were a delicate balance of urgency and tenderness. Ben's body temperature had skyrocketed to 104.5 degrees, and multiple wounds were teeming with infection. Yet through it all, he remained calm, even cooperative. Julia, who hadn't left Ben's side, gently ran her fingers through what remained of his fur. As the team worked, the full extent of Ben's suffering came to light. Shaving away his matted coat revealed the horror beneath. The chain had left an infected, gaping wound around his neck, forming a grotesque collar of pain. His back and sides were riddled with sores and cuts, likely from lying on unforgiving ground littered with debris. Worst of all were the signs of deliberate abuse, scars and bruises that told a story of beatings and cruelty. Still, there was hope. She hesitated. "Whatever it takes, we'll figure it out." The first night was touch and go. Around midnight, Ben's fever spiked dangerously, and Dr. Santos chose to stay long past her shift to monitor him. Julia, unwilling to leave, sat by his side and quietly read from an old dog-eared copy of James Herriot's animal stories she kept in her rescue kit. In response, Ben weakly nuzzled her hand, his eyes meeting hers with a depth of understanding that felt almost human. That night, as Ben drifted in and out of consciousness, Julia felt a renewed sense of purpose. The snowfall was relentless, blanketing Denver, Colorado in a cold stillness. Julia Roberts tightened her scarf as the chill cut through her jacket. With over a decade of animal rescue experience, Julia had grown used to spotting trouble from afar. And tonight, trouble had a name on Thompson Road. The dim glow of a porch light illuminated a chained figure. Even from the distance, the outline was unmistakable. A large dog, motionless. Julia pulled her truck to the side of the road. Her heart sank as she stepped out into the biting wind for a closer look. "Julia, we've got to move. Harris." "What is it, Julia? Big dog, looks bad. Meet me here now." Minutes later, Harris arrived, his flashlight beam cutting through the darkness. Together, they approached cautiously. The stench hit first, a nauseating blend of decay and neglect. Near the dilapidated porch, tethered by a rusted chain to a post, lay a Tibetan Mastiff. A breed known for being large and strong now looked like a shadow of its former self. Its thick coat, matted with mud and blood, barely covered its frail body. Deep wounds etched its neck where the chain had bitten through skin and muscle. "Julia, hey buddy," she said, her voice soft but steady. The dog's head twitched, its dull eyes flickering with life. A faint wag of its tail followed, a gesture of trust despite the pain. Harris. Julia, this isn't good. His voice tinged with anger. She didn't need him to say it. The dog had endured months, perhaps years of cruelty. But before they could act, the screen door of the house banged open. A woman stumbled out, clutching a half-empty bottle of whiskey. Her voice, slurred and defensive, cut through the cold air. "Woman, what the hell are you doing on my property?" Julia stood, positioning herself between the dog and the woman. "Julia, ma'am, this dog needs immediate medical care. By law, we're authorized to intervene." "Woman, that's my dog. You're not taking it." Harris stepped forward, his patience thinning. "Harris, ma'am, you could be charged with animal cruelty." "Woman, shut up!" she spat, waving the bottle. "Woman, get off my land!" Julia raised her hand to calm Harris. She saw the desperation in the woman's eyes. Beneath the aggression was a need. Money, control, maybe both. Julia shifted her tone, firm but empathetic. "Julia, listen, that dog's dying. By morning you'll have nothing, but I'll give you $300 right now and you can walk away." The woman hesitated, her gaze flickering between Julia and the dog. "Woman, make it 400. Julia, 300. Take it or leave it." Seconds dragged like hours, but finally the woman shoved out her hand. "Woman, fine. Give me the damn money." Julia transferred the payment through her phone while Harris retrieved the bolt cutters. The woman grabbed the money and disappeared into the house. "Woman, his name is Ben." The chain embedded deep into the dog's neck required careful cutting. Another rescue. He was a reminder of why she did this work, and Ben, against all odds, seemed determined to prove that some spirits can't be broken. By the next morning, the fever had subsided, but the real battle was only beginning. Treating his wounds was a painstaking and often painful process, requiring sedation for the most intensive cleanings. The team soon discovered that Ben found comfort in classical music, with Bach's compositions having a particularly soothing effect on him. "Take a look at this," Julia Robert remarked during one of his treatments. Despite what must have been significant pain, Ben extended a paw to comfort a visibly anxious veterinary intern. "This dog's got a gift," Sarah observed as she gently applied antibiotic cream to the deep gashes on his neck. "He's going to be an incredible therapy dog one day." Days stretched into weeks as Ben's recovery revealed both progress and challenges. Trust issues surfaced when it came to food. He guarded his meals as though he expected them to be taken away. The sound of chains clinking or raised voices would cause him to tremble, though his inherently gentle demeanor remained intact. Julia visited him daily, often bringing treats specially approved by Dr. Santos. She also began documenting his journey online, and before long, Ben's story touched thousands of hearts. Messages of encouragement poured in from across the globe, along with donations and hand-knitted blankets. "You're becoming quite the star," Julia told him one evening, holding up a package from Japan. Inside was a hand-stitched soft blue collar, embroidered with symbols representing strength and healing. 1 month into his recovery, Ben reached a milestone that moved the entire clinic staff to tears. He played with a toy for the first time, a simple squeaky polar bear donated by a local child. Ben's hesitant exploration of the toy turned into genuine delight, and Julia's voice was warm as she encouraged him. "That's it, buddy, it's yours now, all yours." As his wounds healed, they left behind scars that told the story of his suffering, but also his survival. His once matted coat began to grow back clean and vibrant, showcasing the regal appearance of his Tibetan Mastiff lineage. Yet the most remarkable transformation was his emerging personality, playful, intuitive, and unfailingly kind. While the vibrant hues of autumn spread across Colorado, Ben's physical recovery steadily advanced. However, the emotional scars he carried proved more complex. Patterns in his behavior revealed the depth of his trauma. Thunderstorms sent him scrambling to hide under tables. The sound of crushed beer cans in the recycling area outside made him shudder. But the greatest challenge was his fear of abandonment. He became noticeably anxious whenever left alone, particularly at night. "It's like he's terrified we won't come back," Dr. Santos remarked one evening as she watched Ben track Julia's movements with intense focus as she prepared to leave. Julia made a decision that would change both their lives. With Dr. Santos's approval, she started spending her nights at the clinic, sleeping on a cot beside Ben's kennel. Each evening, she read aloud to him until his breathing slowed and his eyes drifted closed. One stormy night, as a thunderstorm rolled through and a power outage darkened the clinic, the backup generator clicked on. Julia heard whimpering from Ben's kennel. Expecting him to be cowering in fear, she was surprised to find him pawing at the gate, looking straight at her. "What's wrong, Ben?" she asked, unlocking the kennel. To her amazement, Ben gently tugged at her sleeve and led her to the next enclosure. Inside, a newly rescued kitten huddled in the corner, trembling. Without hesitation, Ben laid down beside the kitten's cage, his presence a calming force for the frightened animal. "You're not just recovering," Julia realized, her heart full of wonder. "You're helping others heal too." This moment marked a pivotal turning point in Ben's journey. The clinic staff carefully began introducing him to other animals, and his innate ability to calm and comfort anxious pets became undeniable. Ben, once the victim of unimaginable neglect, had transformed into a source of healing for others, proving that even the deepest wounds could lead to profound compassion. Even the most anxious animals seemed to find a sense of calm in his presence. News of Ben's unique talent quickly spread throughout the local rescue network. Soon, other organizations were reaching out for help with especially traumatized dogs. Under close supervision, Ben would sit patiently with fearful dogs, demonstrating through his own demeanor that humans could be trusted again. "It's like he's saying, 'If I can learn to trust, so can you,'" Harris remarked during one of these powerful sessions. As Ben grew more confident, Julia Robert began taking him on brief trips outside the clinic to further his progress. Their first outing to a nearby park was both a success and a learning experience. Ben eagerly explored new scents and greeted strangers, but when a jogger passed too closely with a clanging metal water bottle, his demeanor shifted. The sound triggered a wave of anxiety. "You're okay now, big guy," Julia reassured him, crouching beside him. Stroking his fur to soothe his nerves, these outings unveiled yet another remarkable facet of Ben's nature, his profound ability to connect with human emotions. During one unforgettable walk, Ben unexpectedly pulled Julia toward a bench where an elderly man sat quietly, his shoulders shaking with silent tears. Without hesitation, Ben placed his head gently on the man's knee. The man began stroking Ben's head, his voice breaking as he whispered, "I lost her last month. This is the first time I've smiled since." Witnessing moments like these convinced Julia that Ben's story was bigger than just his survival. He had a gift for healing others. As winter drew closer, conversations at the clinic turned toward Ben's future. While he had become a beloved figure at Hope Animal Station, it was clear he deserved a forever home. But finding the right family for a dog with his history and special needs would be no small task. He needs someone who truly understands trauma, Dr. Santos pointed out during one of their discussions. Someone patient enough to guide him through his fears, but also someone who appreciates his ability to comfort and heal others. Julia wrestled with the decision. Her bond with Ben had deepened, but her demanding schedule as a rescue coordinator wasn't ideal for providing him with the consistent care and routine he needed. Just when she began to feel overwhelmed, a surprising opportunity presented itself. During one of Ben's therapy sessions with other rescue animals, Julia met Claire Henderson. Claire, a retired trauma counselor who volunteered at the clinic, had been bringing her teenage daughter Emma along to the sessions. Emma, who had been battling severe anxiety, found solace in Ben's presence. Their connection was instant and undeniable. Normally reserved and withdrawn, Emma seemed to blossom when she was with Ben, and Ben, ever perceptive, responded to her with a gentleness that was impossible to miss. "Look at how they mirror each other," Claire observed, watching Ben's calm demeanor adjust to Emma's energy. "They don't need words to understand one another." The Henderson family lived in a quaint farmhouse on 5 peaceful acres just outside of town. When Claire approached Julia about adopting Ben, she came prepared with a thoughtful and comprehensive plan that showed her commitment to meeting his unique needs. "We've converted the sunroom into a quiet space just for Ben," Claire explained, scrolling through photos on her phone. "It's got heated floors, plenty of natural light, and a view of the garden. Emma's already chosen a special reading chair where they can spend time together." Claire's husband, Tom Henderson, a skilled veterinary technician, had also begun modifying their home to ensure Ben's comfort and safety. Julia was impressed by the family's dedication, and the way Emma's bond with Ben brought hope and healing to them both. It became clear that this was exactly the kind of environment Ben needed, one where his gifts could flourish while he continued his own journey of recovery. Reluctantly, but with a full heart, Julia agreed to let Ben go to the Hendersons. As the adoption day arrived, she knelt beside him one last time, stroking his thick fur. "You've been through so much," she whispered, "but this is your new beginning. You're going to change their lives just like you've changed mine." Ben leaned into her touch, his tail wagging gently as if he understood. They added specialized nightlights to ensure there was never complete darkness, created multiple cozy hideaways, and installed a soothing water feature in the garden. The gentle trickling sounds helped mask startling noises, offering a sense of calm. Julia arranged a series of supervised visits to help Ben transition smoothly to his potential new family. Each visit unveiled more reasons why the Hendersons seemed like the perfect fit. Emma, their daughter, had an uncanny ability to understand Ben's emotional state. "He's calm right now," Emma explained during one of the visits, as Ben wandered through the garden. "See how his tail is loose and his ears are forward? He's relaxed, but he keeps glancing back at us to make sure we're still here." The pivotal moment came during their 4th visit. Lowered herself to the ground and began softly reciting a verse she used to ease her own anxiety. "Breathe in peace. Breathe out fear. Know that you are safe, right here." To everyone's astonishment, Ben approached her, sat down, and began mirroring her steady breathing. His trembling ceased, and he leaned into her, finding reassurance in her calm presence. "They're healing each other," Emma's mother whispered to Julia as they watched the scene unfold. The decision to finalize Ben's adoption was not easy for Julia. He wasn't just another rescue. He embodied everything she believed about resilience, compassion, and second chances. But seeing Ben bond so deeply with the Hendersons, especially Emma, made it clear that this was the home he was meant for. On adoption day, the clinic hosted a small celebration. Dr. Santos, who had overseen Ben's recovery, gave him one final exam and declared him ready for his new chapter. The staff even organized a heartwarming graduation ceremony, complete with a bandana embroidered with the words "From Survivor to Thriver." As Julia handed Ben over, she couldn't hold back her emotions. "Remember," she told the Hendersons, her voice soft with emotion, "he still needs back music during thunderstorms, and his polar bear toy helps him sleep. Sometimes he gets nervous about food running out." "We've got it covered," Emma said with quiet confidence, gently resting her hands on Ben's head. "He takes care of us too." The following year brought profound changes for Ben. Under the Hendersons' loving care, he transformed from a traumatized survivor into a source of inspiration for others. Emma, inspired by Ben's resilience, started a blog called Life Lessons from Ben. What began as simple reflections on their daily experiences quickly gained traction with animal welfare groups and mental health advocates. "Today, Ben taught me about boundaries," Emma wrote in one of her most shared posts. When the neighbor's dog got overly excited, Ben didn't growl or retreat. He simply sat and turned his head until the other dog calmed down and followed his lead. Julia, recognizing how Ben's presence profoundly affected not just Emma, but everyone around him, reached out to a nearby hospital about their therapy dog program. After thorough assessments and rigorous certification, Ben became their most sought-after therapy dog. "There's something unique about him," said Sarah Chun, a nurse in the pediatric ward. "The kids feel like he understands their pain, as if he's experienced hardships himself. It creates an instant connection." One unforgettable moment solidified Ben's reputation as an exceptional therapy dog. During a routine visit to the children's ward, He became unusually determined to enter a room they typically skipped, one belonging to a 10-year-old boy who had remained unresponsive since a devastating accident 3 weeks earlier. The boy's mother, hesitant but desperate, allowed Ben to enter. "He hasn't reacted to anything before," she explained. What followed left everyone deeply moved. Ben gently placed his head on the edge of the boy's bed. After a few moments of stillness, the child's hand twitched, then slowly reached out to touch Ben's fur. It was the first deliberate movement the boy had made since the accident. Back at home, Ben and Emma's bond continued to flourish. They developed a comforting routine: morning walks in the garden, reading quietly together in the sunroom, and what Emma lovingly called their peaceful moments. These were times when they simply sat side by side, drawing comfort from each other's presence. Emma's progress didn't go unnoticed. Her anxiety diminished significantly, and her teachers observed her increased engagement in class. Inspired by Ben, she even joined the school's animal welfare club, and eventually became its president. "Ben taught me that the best way to heal yourself is by helping others," she shared during a presentation on animal rescue at school. The Roberts home soon became a sanctuary for other animals in need. Guided by Ben, they fostered several mistreated dogs, helping them regain trust and find loving homes. Tom, observing Ben's unique instincts, remarked, "He has this incredible ability to read other dogs' emotions. He just knows how to approach each one. With nervous dogs, he lowers himself, moves gently. For anxious ones, he models calm behavior for them to imitate." Julia began documenting Ben's methods, collaborating with animal behaviorists to refine strategies for rehabilitating traumatized animals. These efforts resulted in the Ben method. Ben's journey was later embraced by rescue organizations nationwide. Julia often reflected on Ben's remarkable transformation. The frightened Tibetan Mastiff, who once cowered at the sound of a chain, had grown into a confident dog, now guiding others through their recovery journeys. His scars, now faint silver streaks beneath his thick coat, served as quiet reminders of the past he had overcome. "He remembers," Julia observed during one of her visits. She watched as Ben gently led a newly rescued dog through its first cautious steps in the garden, his calm demeanor offering reassurance. His journey from victim to healer was a testament to resilience, proving that even the deepest wounds could lead to profound healing for others. As time went on, Ben channeled his suffering into a powerful sense of purpose. By the time he reached his 3rd year with the Henderson family, his impact had extended far beyond their small Pennsylvania community. What started as a modest blog, Lessons from Ben, had evolved into a global movement urging rescue organizations to rethink how they approached animals recovering from trauma. Emma, now a high school senior, had found her life's direction through her experiences with Ben. She planned to pursue veterinary behavioral medicine in college, aspiring to merge animal care with psychological rehabilitation. "Ben taught me that healing isn't just about fixing physical injuries," she wrote in her college application essay. "It's about rebuilding trust and kindness, one gentle step at a time." What made Ben's journey truly extraordinary was how his story continued to ripple outward, touching lives in unforeseen ways. One crisp fall morning, CLA received a call from the local police. They had conducted a raid on a puppy mill, uncovering several deeply traumatized Tibetan Mastiffs. "We've read about Ben," the officer said. "We were hoping he could help us." The Henderson family quickly transformed their garage into a makeshift rehabilitation space, readying Ben for perhaps his most difficult role yet: mentoring dogs who had suffered the same kind of trauma he once endured. His approach, observed by visiting veterinarians, was described as nothing short of remarkable. "Watch this," Tom would say, as Ben began his work with each terrified animal. Ben maintained a safe and respectful distance, slowly modeling healthy behaviors, eating calmly from a bowl, playing gently with toys, and accepting soft touches. The other dogs observed his actions and little by little mirrored them. One dog in particular stood out, a female mastiff they named Hope. She had shut down entirely, avoiding all contact with humans and other animals. Ben, with his unwavering patience, became her anchor. For hours he would sit near Hope, offering silent companionship without pressuring her to interact. After 2 weeks, Hope inched closer to him. By the 3rd week, she was drinking from his water bowl. A month later, she allowed Emma to touch her for the first time. He remembers, CLA said one day, watching Ben guide Hope through her first hesitant steps into the garden. He knows exactly what it's like to feel that kind of fear, and he knows how to help her move past it. Ben's success with Hope inspired the creation of the Ben Sanctuary. a dedicated center for rehabilitating traumatized animals. The Hendersons purchased additional land near their home, and with donations from supporters worldwide, they built a state-of-the-art facility. Julia Robert, now serving as the sanctuary's operations director, often thought back to the day they had rescued Ben. His life had come full circle, from desperate neglect to becoming a symbol of hope for countless animals. Despite his busy routine at the sanctuary, Ben never lost sight of his other commitments. Twice a week, he continued to visit the local children's hospital, participated in Emma's research on animal-assisted therapy, and remained the emotional cornerstone of the Henderson family. Every evening, without fail, Ben and Emma returned to their favorite spot in the sunroom. Although Emma had grown into a confident young woman, nightly reading sessions remained sacred. Ben would rest his head on her lap, his intelligent eyes filled with quiet understanding as she read aloud from their shared collection of books. "You know what amazes me most about Ben?" Emma asked her mother one night as they watched him sleep, exhausted after another long day at the sanctuary. He could have let his pain turn him bitter or aggressive, but instead, he chose to heal. CLA smiled, thinking of the countless lives Ben had transformed. "Maybe that's his greatest gift," she replied, "that even the hardest experiences, when met with love, can become a source of strength and hope for others." As if sensing the mention of his name, Ben lifted his head and offered one of his signature heartwarming looks, a gentle expression that had melted countless hearts and helped mend many broken spirits. His journey from a battered, chained animal to a symbol of hope and resilience stood as undeniable proof of the transformative power of kindness, second chances, and the boundless strength of a dog's spirit. A decade after Ben's rescue, on a radiant spring morning, the Ben Sanctuary marked its 1,000th successful rehabilitation. The milestone brought together a diverse crowd, former patients, veterinarians, rescue workers, and supporters from all over the globe. Sitting beside Julia Robert, Ben now bore the distinguished silver of age on his muzzle, but his regal demeanor and wise, kind eyes remained unchanged. Julia addressed the gathering with pride, standing beside the dog who had inspired it all. "Ben's story didn't end with his rescue," she began, her voice strong yet tinged with emotion. "It was just the start. Every animal that finds its way here, every person who discovers hope through this place, carries forward his legacy." The sanctuary had blossomed far beyond what anyone had envisioned in its early days. Its innovative practices had been adopted by veterinary schools nationwide, and the Ben protocol for rehabilitating traumatized animals was now available in a dozen languages. Remarkably, the methods developed for animal care had even inspired human trauma therapists, who adapted Ben's gentle, patient techniques to aid their own clients. Among the crowd that day was Hope, a Tibetan Mastiff who had once been one of Ben's most challenging rescues. Now fully recovered, she worked alongside him as a therapy dog. Together, they had pioneered what became known as the companion healing method, where rehabilitated animals played a key role in helping new arrivals begin their journeys toward recovery. Julia, now older with streaks of grey in her hair, often shared Ben's story with new staff members at the sanctuary. The real miracle, she would say, is that even the hardest experiences, when met with love, can become a source of strength and hope for others. As Ben embarked on his journey, hope was his constant companion. He knew that every step forward was a step towards healing. He believed that with determination and support, he could overcome any obstacle. His journey wasn't just about survival, it was about finding a new purpose, a new beginning. The Ben Sanctuary became a beacon of hope for many. It was a place where people could find solace and support. Ben's vision had come to life, offering a safe haven for those in need. The sanctuary was more than just a building. It was a community, a family. Here, everyone was welcome and no one was alone. Ben's legacy of healing extended far beyond the walls of the sanctuary. His story inspired countless others to take action, to make a difference. The impact of his work was felt in every corner of the community. Ben had shown that with compassion and perseverance, one person could indeed change the world. His journey, his sanctuary, his legacy, these were the gifts he left behind for future generations. Isn't just that Ben survived, it's that he taught us how to turn survival into purpose. Her words inspired countless rescuers to look beyond the immediate suffering they encountered and to imagine the potential for transformation. That evening, as the festivities wound down, the sanctuary's founders gathered in the sunroom, the heart of their family's life for the past 10 years. Ben lay in his favorite spot, surrounded by the people who had become his family. Julia's daughter Emma, now a veterinary behaviorist, sat beside him with a well-worn copy of James Eros's Dog Stories, the same book Julia had read to Ben during his first difficult nights at the clinic. "Emma, should we read your favorite chapter, Ben?" Emma asked softly, a small smile on her face. Ben's tail thumped lightly against the floor, his way of saying yes. As she began to read, the room grew quiet, filled only with her voice and the soft rustling of pages. Outside, the sanctuary stretched into the distance, a haven where hundreds of animals had found their second chance. Beyond it, the sunset painted the sky in hues of hope. Ben's journey had shown them all that healing was more than overcoming pain. It was about forging a future where past wounds became bridges to deeper compassion and connection. From a chained, neglected dog, he had become a healer of spirits, inspiring a movement of kindness that extended far beyond what anyone could have imagined. As the golden light of dusk filled the room, Ben dozed peacefully, encircled by love. Not just the love of his family, but the enduring love of a legacy that would continue to bring hope to both animals and humans for generations. In the end, Ben's story wasn't solely about one dog's incredible transformation. It was about the profound ability of the heart to turn pain into purpose, fear into strength, and suffering into acts of service. His journey was a powerful reminder that even the deepest scars, when mended with love, could become sources of hope for others. And as the evening settled over the sanctuary bearing his name, Ben's quiet presence seemed to offer one final lesson: that the greatest healing doesn't come from what we take for ourselves, but from what we give to others. And that's the incredible journey of Ben, a story of resilience, healing, and the extraordinary power of compassion. Ben's legacy teaches us that no matter how deep the wounds, love and kindness can transform lives and create something truly beautiful. If this story touched your heart, we'd love to hear from you. Do you have a story of hope and second chances, whether it's about an animal or a person who overcame the odds? Share it with us in the comments below. Your stories might inspire others and remind us all of the power of connection and care. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe for more heartwarming stories, and share Ben's journey with someone who needs a little hope today. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next story.